Okay, today I'm going to talk about the CTL taught, the Center of Teaching and Learning at the University of Crete. And my talk will be asking you to think like a coordinator of a Center of Teaching and Learning. I will be asking you only 3 questions, and I would be interested in seeing whether you are actually in the same mindset as us, and we can talk about the differences in the way we approach faculty development, which is a misunderstood term for many people because they think it's a synonym to training, like you do in lifelong learning centers, but actually it may not be the case. I'm going to talk about disrupting these assumptions, because when we teach, every action we take, every behavior, every stance we have, it is basically guided by our assumptions about how learning takes place, knowledge, and our role as teachers. And the same thing happens with faculty development. It's no really different to different design. So I'm going to ask you to take an active role as a CTL coordinator who has some information about certain issues and has these goals. So your goal is to support inclusive student-centered learning, foster collaborative faculty development, and promote bottom-up pedagogical change. And that's the challenge, because that's not usually what really happens around the world. And with your answers, I want you to act as a coordinator and also guess what we really did. We conducted need analysis, we conducted situational analysis, and I will say that just to say that we started in 2019. And up until today, we've been conducting this situational analysis to make sure what we do responds to the needs and the readiness and the willingness of our colleagues to embrace student-centered pedagogies and inclusive pedagogies, and also find out what supports they need. So the first question for you is, if you don't have one of those, please grab it and show it to me. If you decide to say A or B or C, I'm sorry I didn't cut them, but I thought it's easier if you just play with that. So the question is, what do you think is one of those things that we did not do as a CTL? And I will ask you out loud, did we ask faculty to participate in peer observation? Did we ask did we design faculty meetings that were strictly recorded and reviewed by Leadership for Sustainability? Did we organize all online discussions monthly to support action research and peer discussions? So what do you think, out of those 3 things, what is it that we did not do? I have one answer already. Thank you. That's the right thing to say, actually. We seem to be ABC all together. That's good. Okay. So let me show you that this is what we didn't do, because we avoid surveillance and performativity. We don't have this mindset, and our goal is to create safe spaces, bottom-up spaces for people to share good practices and with voluntary engagement, because we believe that transformation comes from within. A part of this was to organize peer observations, as you saw in the previous question, peer observations opportunities, where people would walk into your amphitheater, we called it open amphitheater, and just observe what you do, but not in order to assess you. It wasn't assessment driven, it was reflection based, so they would come back based on a protocol and reflect on their own practices, and what they observed changed the way they think of inclusive student-centered pedagogies. The next question is for you now again, and this is, what do you think? We organize monthly sessions, monthly online sessions for all these people to come and meet. What do you think our aim was? So was it to present externally published research? Was it to offer a space for sharing personal action research? Or was it to check, report, or grade attendance? What do you think happened here? Okay, we have a few answers. That's very, very good. Thank you so much. Most of you say B, and it is indeed B. This is what we did it for. We invested on participatory training opportunities and faculty development opportunities, and we gave emphasis on action research. Action research, as you can see, is teacher-led inquiry. So we didn't just stay in theory, we asked them to take one thing from what we discuss and apply it in their classrooms and basically test it in their own classes with their students, either with taking observations in their journals or conducting questionnaires and surveys through questionnaires or interviews. And basically they could evaluate their own work and they could either adopt that new intervention or reject it. And this is the gain that we got from all this, although the numbers I have to admit they were quite low. Two things we told participants: is important to start with a real classroom question and not a perfect research design, because that puts you off when you're not acquainted with these methods. And the second thing we told them is to collect data that fits their practice. They shouldn't change their whole course in order to conduct some action research and test new pedagogical interventions in their classes. We moved on to MOOCs. After we conducted peer observation and after we did the action research, because we thought these MOOCs would have the same mentality. And this is the same question I want to ask you now, the third question I want to ask you. The topics were all these that you can see here, and it captures the whole range of pedagogy and what we think it's innovative. But we thought we can't really be innovative unless we take one more factor into account. Let me ask you the question first, and then I can tell you what it was. So, which is one of those things that we did not do when we designed our MOOCs? So they were designed to support faculty in engaging with peer observation and reflective practice. They focus primarily on delivering content about national education policies and compliance standards, and they provided resources to help faculty undertake action research and redesign their teaching. What do you think was excellent? I guess you hate me already because most of the answers were B so far. But the point is, yes, indeed, our MOOCs were not compliance-driven. Again, we had a whole section for peer participation and reflection and feedback, where they would add their own sections, their own activities, their own questions, and other participants were obliged, in a way, when they were taking part in a MOOC, to reply and discuss and exchange these ideas. So the content became larger and larger. The aspects that we were looking at were expanding because participants themselves added their own questions and reflective tasks as well. So in a nutshell, this is our model, this is our approach in our CTL TOTS. And I just want to say that the whole idea was that we invested on reflection because we do not believe in presenting observing somebody in order to be assessed. We also invested on the idea that faculty development is not training. Transformation needs to come from within. That's why we use peer observation. We used action research as a scholarly process for all academics, even those that were not acquainted with education, and we allowed co-creation in MOOCs. This is an important part, which I know now happens in many universities around the world. Our priority for us is faculty agency and self-directed inquiry, and this changes the dynamics between those who train the trainers, or what used to be training the trainers, and what actually now means to have faculty development. Development is a very strong word, and we should focus on these aspects. Thank you very, very much for taking part.